Well, working at the Paris Opera was an amazing experience. Working with the greatest musicians in the world, the greatest singers, the wonderful conductors.
Think the European art industry is generally adapting the modern audience
Well, that's a very big question. And the Paris Opera, I can say.
scenes in Europe becoming more centralized in capital cities, or it is growing in smaller cities also?
Well, I can say that the theater is not growing in small cities. In fact, it's going down.
The reason they are cutting down the theaters is a financial reason or any other reasons?
Yes, I think it's financial.
Difference. The moment you felt, yeah, it is not my day.
Oh, well, I suppose there were moments in the beginning when I tried to become a big star.
Okay.
There were disappointments. Some of the difficulties with trying to perform in opera is, for example, good health. You can be booked to do an opera, and if you are ill that week, then you can't sing. And that's it. Something that you've been waiting 2 years to do, you can't do anymore. To continue, so if there are periods when you're not working, what do you do during those periods? A lot of people teach to cover those other periods. So
This is my day. I made this.
well, that was quite, that I did have a moment when I stepped in. I was the understudy for a leading part at the Paris Opera because it was a contemporary opera and no one else knew it. And the woman who was supposed to sing the part had an accident. So I was very quickly put into the part, prepared, and I sang it. And it was a feeling like no other.
There is a young generation people who wants to work in this big institution. What is the one suggestion you give to them?
Well, there's no one solution. There is many years of hard work. Well, my name is Constance Bradburn. I'm an American, but I've been living in France for 50 years. I came over as a student and just continued living here.
Okay. Like, what is your work experience and what is the entire?
I have been singing with the Paris Opera Chorus for about 35 years, and I'm retired from that now. And I'm now created a business, which is historical walking tours, which I do in costume and in character.
Okay. You worked in one of the most iconic institutions in the world, in Paris. How do you feel while you're working, like 35 years in your life?
Well, working at the Paris Opera was an amazing experience. To be in this very beautiful building, and then of course there was the modern building which was built after that. So I experienced working in both of the theaters, and this wonderful opera house, working with the greatest musicians in the world, the greatest singers, the wonderful conductors, the most interesting theater directors. So it was an experience really of a lifetime to be able to participate in art at this very high level.
Okay. What makes you to, like, from Paris to south of France? What makes you to move from north to south?
Well, I moved to the south of France when I retired because Paris had gotten a little too expensive for a retiree, and I wanted to live in the south with the sunshine and enjoy a quieter life in a small town. Although I've always loved Paris, and I know when I first arrived in Paris, I thought I will never leave Paris. I will fall down dead on the street someday, and that's fine. But your priorities change a little bit as you grow older. But Paris also has changed quite a bit because it's gotten to be a very rich city. It's much more difficult for normal people to live in the city, and I regret that. But well, this is the evolution of all the great cities in the world, I think, right now.
Was there a single moment in Paris where sometime thinking where it's not the final chapter in your life?
I don't know if I thought of a single moment. I had to move, and I could not find a small apartment because I had a large apartment to raise my family. But as a retiree, I wanted a small, inexpensive apartment, and there really wasn't anything available because everything has been turned into Airbnb.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that Paris passes a law to control that and slow it down. But I mean, it was a hard decision. I love the city. I love everything that's there. I've been to every museum many, many times, to every different neighborhood. I am someone who has really, really enjoyed living in Paris. I've been up the Eiffel Tower, everything you can go up, I've been
Mm.
up. I've been down in the visit to the sewers, the visit to the catacombs. I've done it all. So I guess I decided I wanted a new adventure.
As an American, you shifted to France.
As an American, what?
You shifted to France.
I
Like
what?
you came to France.
Yes.
And what was the feeling while you came to France where the language is difficult for more international people here?
Mm-hmm.
How did you face the situation? How was the point of thinking at that time for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I came over as a student.
Mm-hmm.
So in those days, being a student in Paris was very very much fun. It was not expensive. I had already had a good formation in French language in school. Now it would be a very much more difficult thing for someone to come over and not have that grounding in the language, and that made a huge difference, especially in those days. We're talking about the 1970s. Most people did not speak English,
Yeah.
which nowadays many more people speak English than they did back then. And but it was a city where you could live cheaply as a student. I lived in a maid's room, which meant that on the top floor of nice apartment buildings, there were these little rooms which were meant for the servants of the apartments down below. So you could rent an apartment for, back then, I suppose it was something like $50 a month.
Oh.
And there was only cold water, it wasn't, there was no bathroom. It was just a very simple room. But when you're a student, you don't really mind that kind of thing. At least we didn't in our day. And you could eat for very cheaply in the university cafeteria. And it was still a city where you could do things when you didn't have a lot of money.
Mm. Do you think the European art industry is generally adapting the modern audience?
Well, that's a very big question. And the Paris Opera, I can say, has made a very big effort to commission pieces of art, operas by modern composers, treating modern subjects. So, yes, I would say that, and they also have made a big effort to bring the prices down. Now, opera is a very, very costly
Yeah.
operation. You've got 100 people in the orchestra, you've got 100 people on stage, you've got big opera singers. But it's not just that, it's also the whole building, the whole business employs about, I believe, something around 1,500 employees full time. So that also costs money. I know that the Paris Opera takes up a great deal of the French governmental budget for culture. So it's not, opera is not a business that's going to make money. It's a national cultural phenomena that I'm happy to see passed on, and the ballet, of course, also passed on to future generations. I think that these are very deep and complex works of art, whether visual, audio, in terms of the theater, the story, the beautiful costumes, and the beauty, of course, as of the music. These are all a part of opera. So when you go to see an opera, it's true you may spend 100 to I don't know how many hundreds of euros or dollars on a ticket, but you are having a very large experience. So I would say that most theaters are trying to. There's also outreach programs, which the Paris Opera, I believe, have programs where they go into perhaps towns or places where people don't have the kind of money to go to opera and do performances, engage the young people. They go into schools and try and teach them about what opera can be. So yes, I would say that at least from my experience, there is an effort to make opera a modern and a current and live cultural experience.
Okay, like we got a different answer from a different woman. Is the art and culture scenes in Europe becoming more centralized in capital cities, or it is growing in smaller cities also?
Well, I can say that the opera theater is not growing in small cities. In fact, it's going down. When I
Okay,
came to France, there were about 30, I believe, theaters in France, cities, in other words,
okay.
who had their own theaters which they financed and which had opera seasons. And that's very much cut down. And nowadays, when there is an opera, it will often only play perhaps 2 or 3 performances, where before it would play 6 to 8 performances. So that is difficult, and I think it is a problem of, well, I can't really say. I would imagine it's a problem of cost. People are trying to live within budgets that are getting more and more tight. Things are expensive, and also it's more older
Mhm.
people who appreciate it and who go. There are many young people, of course, who go to opera and enjoy it, but it's not quite as well attended by a younger crowd as it used to be.
Okay. Like, what is the reason they are cutting down the theaters? It's a financial reason or any other reasons,
Yes,
according to
I
you?
think it's financial. To run a theater, you've got to, as I said, you've got to have so many expenses. You've got to have an orchestra. It's certainly not a problem of getting enough good artists, because this is the catastrophe. Really, is that we've got thousands and thousands more brilliant artists available, and a lot less work, which makes it very hard on the artists. So at least when you go to a
Mhm.
show, you know you're getting the very top of this enormous
Yeah.
group of singers and dancers and musicians.
What does making it the art mean today, as changed in the last decades?
I don't understand.
What does making it in the art
Hmm.
means today, as changed from the last decades,
Hmm.
according to you?
Well, making it in the arts today is, of course, challenging. Uh, as I said, there's a great deal more competition in terms of artists, so it's
Mhm.
hard to make a living. It's hard to become a top musician or singer, because that also costs a great deal of money
Mhm.
to learn, to work with the best coaches, to work with the best teachers, to prepare. You have to know languages, you have to know how to move. Sometimes you have to know fencing and dancing. So it's quite difficult for people who don't have a financial support to become artists in that way. In terms of why theaters are not growing, I think there are some things that are growing in France. I think that musical comedy, for example, seems to be growing in France. When
Okay.
I first came, there was not such a thing as musical comedy. Of course, there was operetta, which is similar, slightly different form. Um, but there are big concerts today. I think musical is still very important. Music, excuse me.
Hmm.
So I that's about all I can say as to why is it growing or not growing.
Okay. Does cultural differences between Paris and south of France are more, like any cultural differences from north of the Paris and south of the Paris where creativity is lacking? Do you think?
I really wouldn't be able to say. I don't know. I know that there is an excellent opera house in Avignon, which is
Okay.
always full.
Okay.
So I think in terms of opera, there's always going to be people.
Mm-hmm.
It's an international affair.
Okay.
And also in the south of France, there are a lot of wonderful places to experience music outside.
Okay.
So there are festivals in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
which you can't really have as easily in the north of France, where you have rain or cold. So here, there are a lot of places where you can have wonderful music in the summer at Orange, for example, in the old Roman arena. Nîmes also does wonderful concerts and musical events, and the Carrière of Lacoste has done opera events. So that is one difference.
Does they have any creative changes, like from here to there, from there to here? Any creative differences among the north side and south side, where people want to, uh, we want to create these type of shows here. We like these type of shows here. Any difference
Mhm.
from there?
I wouldn't be able to answer that. I don't know. I think there's always going to be people who want to see opera and beautiful singing.
Okay.
I think there's just as much of that here as anywhere else. Yeah, people tend to be. Plus, we're close to Italy, and Italy, of course,
Yeah.
is very opera is very big in Italy. So I
Yeah.
think that there is a taste for that kind of music.
Okay. In your 40 years of experience,
Mhm.
the moment you felt, uh, yeah, this is not my day, this is not my thing, the moment you felt very low and very bad.
Oh, well, I suppose there were moments in the beginning when I tried to become a big star.
Okay.
There were disappointments.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the difficulties with trying to perform in opera is, for example, good health. You
Okay.
can be booked to do an opera, and if you are ill that week, then you can't sing, and that's it. Something that you've been waiting 2 years to do, you can't do anymore. And as I said, you have to. There's not enough work for to continue. So if there are periods when you're not working,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do during those periods? A lot of people teach uh, to cover those other periods. So there are difficulties. I went through moments of difficulty, but as I worked with the Paris Opera Chorus, I had a regular job, a salary, so I was able to feel security on that point of view.
Okay. You tried, you love to be a singer. You love to sing songs and perform shows and
Mm-hmm.
everything. The moment, the day you made, yeah, this is my day, I made this
Mm.
into institution, like big institution.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling you have when you made it,
Mm.
when you did it, the feeling, the inside feeling, and the brain and the emotions, what is running in your brain at that time?
Well, that was quite that. I did have a moment when I stepped in. I was the understudy for a leading part at the Paris
Mm-hmm.
Opera because it was a contemporary opera and no one else knew it. And the woman who was supposed to sing the part had an accident. So I was very quickly put into the part, prepared, and I sang it. And it was a feeling like no other, I think, to feel that, to sing, to know that I was doing a good job,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt really good in that part. It was an opera called La Célestine by Maurice Ohana, and I sang the part of Melibé, so it
Okay.
was very beautiful music. And at the end, when we stepped out, the soloist stepped out in front of the curtains, because usually the chorus takes its bows
Yeah.
behind the curtains, but the soloist stepped in front of the curtain. That was a very, very thrilling moment. And there's no other feeling as exciting as to look out at the whole audience. And particularly at the old house at the Palais Garnier, you could really see every face in the audience and see that applause and experience it. It's a wonderful moment of communion with the public.
There is, for common audience like us,
Mm-hmm.
who come uh, to see a show, have a beautiful experience. Everyone has the doubts. What actually the back end operations you guys do before coming to on stage? What is
Mm-hmm.
the background operations you guys will do?
Well, there's months and months of work
Okay.
beforehand, which is why one of the reasons why opera is so costly.
Mm-hmm.
The chorus, for example, has to learn the music by heart. So
Okay.
that means many, many, many rehearsals together in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's it depends on what language we're in. For example, sometimes it's in Russian. Sometimes I've sung in Polish. I've sung in Czech. These are languages which we don't know. Most of
Okay.
us don't know. So we have to learn them by sound. We have to get a language person in to teach us to pronounce correctly, and that can take a long time. So there might be 3 months of learning a difficult opera in Russian, and then there will be perhaps 6 weeks or 6 to 3 weeks of stage rehearsals to learn the staging.
Okay.
And then we come together with the orchestra and get that figured out. There's the
Mm-hmm.
costumes, which are during this time, the costumes are all being made in the opera house as well. So in the opera house, you've got the orchestra, which is rehearsing every day to learn the music. They don't play by heart, of course,
Okay.
but they still have a volume of music. They play for the whole period of the opera. The chorus comes and sings for maybe 10 minutes here, half an hour here. So we're not singing for 4 hours. Then you've got the costume makers, you've got the wig makers, because we have people who make the wigs, we have the makeup artists, the hair artists, and all of that is working for weeks and weeks before each performance. And often we would perhaps perform an opera at night, but in the afternoon we would be having a rehearsal on another opera. So
Okay.
because it has to keep going. And sometimes I've gone through periods where one night we would sing La Traviata and the next night we'd be singing Wagner, which is quite difficult for the voice.
Yeah.
So as a singer, you have to keep working on your voice, keep getting the technique perfect. Because that kind of volume of singing is going to chew up your voice if
Okay.
you don't careful.
For getting one show, you guys practice for 3 to 4 months.
Yes.
It's really a difficult part. Okay.
Well, as I say, one part of it is having the music memorized.
Mm-hmm.
So first you have to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
That takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got to be able to do it with the movements.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that takes time. And then you've got to work with the conductor because the conductor is going to want, with his hands, he's going to show us exactly how he wants it to be done,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be new.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got to rehearse it with the acting, keeping our eye on the conductor. So this takes time.
Okay. Okay. There is a young generation people who wants to work in this big institution.
Mm-hmm.
What is the one suggestion you give to them?
The one,
Suggestion that makes for the young man or young woman to
mhm,
walk into the institution.
mhm.
One suggestion.
Well, there's no one solution. There
Mm-hmm.
is many years of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'll tell you one thing. I tell a lot of people who want to go into show business in general,
Mm-hmm.
which is be nice to people.
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but I've known many people who were talented artists who believe in, particularly young people, because they've
Yeah.
been told by their teachers, you are the next great singer, you are the next Pavarotti, and they arrive and they expect everyone to, do this, get me coffee, do this. No, there are many other people who could replace you. So you must always treat people with respect. And this also means showing up on time. You never show up late for rehearsal. It means knowing your part, your music, absolutely forwards and backwards and upside down, so that you are ready to do whatever the conductor or the director wants you to do. And it means being courteous to everyone who is on stage, whether it is the accessory man who hands you your sword, or whether it is the wig lady who's doing your hair, because getting a bad reputation is very easy, and then no one wants to work with you.
Okay.
So, of course, there's talent, there's hard work, but there's also being a good human being. Those are all important.
Nice. The mistakes they should avoid. The mistakes they should avoid if they want to
Uh,
be a singer, if they
yeah.
want to work in these larger institutions, if they want to do with their private businesses
Hmm.
or TV shows, talk shows, the mistakes they should avoid. According to your experience, you have watched many singers, you have worked with many directors,
Hmm.
you have a lot of
Yes.
experience. What do you say? The mistakes they should avoid.
I think in general for show business, you can't wait for someone to choose you.
Mm-hmm.
There are too many people trying to get those jobs. If you can write your own stuff, if you're a singer, go out and do concerts, go to other people's concerts, talk to the artists, talk
Mm-hmm.
to the people sitting next to you, because in show business, it's all about knowing people, and it's not in a bad way. It's in a good way. You have to know what's happening. You have to know what auditions are out there, and the more people see you and know your name, they're going to say, "Oh yes, we can get her in. We know she can do it." So yeah, if you're an actor, write pieces for yourself or find pieces, promote yourself, go in to a a park and give monologues. People will stop and stare at you. You may look silly. It doesn't matter. You also need the experience. And this is something that I got, which because I was, in order to support myself, I was a waitress. And I worked in a restaurant called the Hollywood Savoy, where all the waitresses were singers.
Mm-hmm.
So we would wait tables, and then the pianist would play our song, and we would sing. So this means that every single night I was singing for a public,
Okay.
which means, well, for one thing, you get used to the fact that you can sing at a moment's notice. You get used to looking at the people, responding to how the house feels that night. These are all very important things. If you're working by yourself, and a lot of preparation as a musician, you're by yourself. You're
Okay.
in your studio, you're in your room, you've got your piano, you're working on your voice, and that's part of it. But you also have to practice performing, even if it's just for three children in a park. Practice performing.
Okay. You work 40 years and you retired now,
Mm.
and you are doing some small company or building small business
Yes.
in Avignon. Please talk about that.
Yes. Well, when I came to Avignon and I stopped work, I enjoyed very much relaxing, but I missed the part of performing and singing and doing things for other people. So I worked with I still continue to work with a small theater company called the Red Hat Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I developed, I thought this would be a great place for tours, historic tours, but where there's storytelling, where there's costumes, where people uh, see me as, for example, the Queen of Naples who's telling her
Mm-hmm.
story about Avignon. Or, so I developed the first product, you can call it, the first one I developed is a tour of the streets behind the Pope's palace, where I tell stories that have ghosts in them. So
Mm-hmm.
there are stories of murders, massacres. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds terrible, but it's all very old and all historic and true. It's all very old and all historic and true. So I am dressed as a ghost of a nun, and I tell these stories, and we end up in front of
Palace.
the palace, and I tell the story. The last story is of the Templars, the Knights Templar, and also of the great poet Petrarch and his great love Laura. So I enjoy that very much. I think it's a wonderful city for to use as a backdrop, as if it were a theater production.
Exam.
A theater production.
Exam.
And now I've done another one, which I tell stories of famous women from Avignon, and also stories about normal women's life. And for this one, I'm dressed as a medieval queen, Queen Joanna of Naples, who was also the Countess of Provence, and that's why she is an important person for the city of Avignon.
Is there any like you completely do it as a business model or you completely do it as a normal show model?
Well, I originally thought of it as more of a theater.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that in order to continue, I needed to turn it into a business. I went to the Chamber of Commerce,
Mm-hmm.
and they are extremely helpful. If anyone wants to start a small business in France, it's not difficult. And the Chamber of Commerce will normally give you a great deal of help. And of course, you can also look online and find out things. It's one person running a business. I don't have salaried people, I
Okay.
have only myself. And it's not an expensive way to run a business. So it's all working out very well.
Is that your business is looking good numbers
Well,
point now?
I've just started out really.
Mm-hmm.
So far, it's making a little bit of money. I think as the weather goes on, there'll be more tourists in town.
Mm-hmm.
It will start making more money. I'm not expecting to live on this full time. I have my pension,
Okay.
so this is extra money that I'm putting in the bank for the future. And yeah, it's also a lot of fun for me. I love meeting people. I love talking to them. I love telling these stories because they're wonderful stories. And I miss the costumes and the dressing up. So that's fun.
Like you are thinking to grow it up in the future. If you are thinking to grow your
Mm.
small business in the future,
Mhm.
in next coming to 5 to 10 years, what is your thinking plan and what is your plan? What is your target?
Well, I have thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are other cities that could profit from this kind of tourism in the region. And although I can't go and do shows, do tours in all of these towns, I was thinking I would have to change my business model a little bit and create a business where I could employ other people. And in that case, I can go and write the tours for a couple other places and hire other people who are capable, of course, of performing the tour guide job with the costume and the stories and hiring them. So that would be a possibility of growth for my company.
Like you get tourists like English people or French tourists or outside Europe, inside Europe, customer.
So far, I'm only doing the tours in English.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been getting people from America. I've had Australians. I've had French people who
Speak
are
English.
interested, who understand English. So I would say for the moment, it's mostly people who come from English speaking countries, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be available. It would be good for other people too. And there are people who are used to this idea of the ghost tour, for example. It's something that is well known in Britain. It's known in America, in New Orleans, and in Australia, apparently, there's a ghost tour of an old mining town that has gone derelict. So they're used to the idea and they enjoy that kind of activity. So yeah, I am planning to do a French version. We'll see when I have some time.
Do you think if you do in a French version in a native language,
Mm-hmm.
you think your numbers will be changed, your revenue will be changed in your companies? You
No, I
can.
don't actually. I think that Avignon is a place where foreigners come because of the wonderful history and the monuments. French people come to Avignon, they're more because they have families, because they want to be in the countryside, they've rented a place with a pool. So they might. On the other hand, there's something I'm going to try and start up now is reaching out to the riverboat cruises. The Avignon is on the great river, the Rhone,
Yeah.
and there are many cruises which stop here
Mm-hmm.
for a day or two. And I thought, I'm hoping that they would be interested in this as an activity in the evening for their groups. So I'm going to contact them. So we'll see what happens with that.
You're actually a strong business mindset person.
Well, as I say, I
From a
don't.
singer to a business person.
Yes, it's fun. I have not worked in my life thinking about business things, but I'm starting. I'm learning.
When you are building this, when you're thinking to start this by your independently,
Mm-hmm.
what are the challenges you face the day that it's not mine? I'm. It's not mine. You felt the biggest challenge when you are building this.
Well, one of my challenges is I don't know much about the digital world. So creating my website was just awful.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone says it's so easy. I did not find it
Yeah.
easy. But every time I tried to do what I wanted to do on the website,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't let me do it. It wouldn't explain how to do it.
Okay.
And I made a great effort to get a banking company so I could get payment online, but they didn't tell me that that banking company does not work with this
Okay.
website.
Domain.
They could have told me that, you know. So I was very annoyed at that. But so, you know, I've learned from making a lot of mistakes, and now I have to learn about marketing, and of course about the business things like you know, keeping accounting and that kind of thing. I'm learning all of that.
And we got to know that you are you're running a small English people group here, English writers, where people write stories, people
Yes.
read. Then please talk about that and why did you start?
Well, I've been writing for a long time. It's part of my activity with the tours because I research the history of the city and then I write up the tours to make them sound as best they can. And I also wrote a book about my life in the opera, a novel. It wasn't about me, but about
Mhm.
a person, a very fun kind of comedy. So writing has always been very important to me. And now when I was living in Paris, I participated in many writing groups where it's people who get together to discuss their writing. They share what this was written, what you've written, you give feedback, you say, oh, I like this, but I didn't understand that. Maybe this should be developed. So I thought Avignon could use that kind of activity. So I created a writing group called the Avignon Writers Group, which I put up on meetup.com. And I have found some excellent writers who we get together, we discuss our work. Everyone is pretty much interested in a real project, although we also welcome people who just want to write for pleasure.
Okay.
So that's something I enjoy very much. We meet about every 2 weeks or so.
Okay, it is only for English people or you invite any other language speakers as well?
No, we work only on English language work because I don't feel that I can give useful criticism to somebody writing in French. I can read French. I speak, I would say, perfect French. But as a literary critique, I'm not sure I can really do much good for those people. So they need to work. They need to work with other French language writers. However, we have people who are from other countries and for whom language is not a first English, it might not be their first language. But we're not working on teaching English. We're working on the writing and how the writing can be more effective. I did create a small group of conversational English, conversational French,
Okay.
for people who have come to France, not realizing that you really have to learn French in order to enjoy life here. And that was a lot of fun, and it's been taken over by someone else now. Well, it was called Que du Français, which means only French. And we would come here, people would bring a bottle of wine, and we would have a glass of wine. But I made sure everyone had to speak French, even if they only had a little French. We would help them to have a conversation. So it was a way of getting to know people. It was a way of practicing your French, which is not always easy because if a French person hears you speaking bad French and they speak English, then they want to speak English with you because they want to practice their English. So it's difficult to actually practice. So I did it for a while, and then I was too busy with the business and other things, and another person who's really interested in teaching and promoting French language took it over. And she is now continuing that group.
You are still in touch and contact with her?
Sure, oh yeah.
Okay. Okay, nice. And you told you want to write stories, you want to read, and you want to explore many things. Have you tried or have you think anytime that I should be a good writer and my books should be published, my story should be published?
This is my great hope. I am right now sending my first novel out to agents. I've had some feedback, which some of it's positive. There are agents that get a lot of propositions, so a lot of them just don't answer if they're not wanting to pick it up. But I'm trying to sell the first book. I am about a third of the way through a second novel, which is based in Avignon, which is a story about magic and time travel, which I hope will be, it's a lot of fun to write. So I'm doing it very much for pleasure, but I would very much like to be published. Yeah. So all of you agents out there, think about me.
Again, we'll come into your work industry. In 40 years, your work. Have you ever felt like a outsider person?
I don't know. As I said, when I came to France, I had a decent level of French. Of course, I started out my first year in university in France,
Mm.
although I could speak French to a certain extent,
Mhm.
I discovered that the way the students spoke was completely different,
Mhm.
which perhaps other people who go to America will discover that the English they learned has nothing to
Yeah.
do with.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think I understand young people's English anymore. So it took me a while. Yes, it was very frustrating because it would be fun to be out with a group of people and they're all saying things and being very clever. And I wanted to say something, but it took me a long time to get it out so that the conversation had already moved on. So that was frustrating. But I learned pretty quickly as I was always with French people and I
Okay.
was always speaking French. So my French developed pretty fast. But in the opera world, I did not feel an outsider because it's a very international community. Many opera singers are Americans or English or what have you, German. So there are all kinds of other people. There are all kinds of international people working.
If you get a chance to change one thing in an industry like opera Paris, you get
Mhm.
a chance to change one structure or thing. What the thing you would be change if you get a chance?
Changing things about how the opera does
Yeah,
things.
if you get a chance to change anything, any rules or anything, what is the one change you could do?
I just don't know what to say about that. I think the opera does a terrific job of bringing together all these different things and all these different international people, all the different kinds of artists, and turning it into one wonderful production
Yeah.
of a show. So I really don't know how to answer that. I feel very happy that I was able to work a long time and enough to get a pension. I know in America it's very difficult. You don't have this kind of pensions for artists. Artists have a very hard time, which I have spoken about already, about how difficult financially it is to be
Yeah.
a performer. So as you're performing, even if you're making it, you still have to put a lot of money aside for your retirement. So I feel very lucky to be part of the European system where we
Yeah.
have healthcare, where we have a pension, where we have security of employment.
If someone in Europe is stuck between his career and his creative dream,
Mm.
as your artist, what could you tell to him? If he's stuck in between, if we want to choose a smaller
Mm-hmm.
career with a good life,
Mm-hmm.
good family, or he has a creative dream, he's
Mm-hmm.
stuck between the both. What do you say to them?
Well, that's a very interesting question for many people because it's very hard sometimes to have a career where you can support yourself and support your family. I would say, for example, I have taught a lot of singers, and I don't tell them right away, oh, you can be a great opera star. I
Mhm.
try and tell them about the difficulties
Mhm.
and how much they.
Yeah.
I would say, do do the artistic thing you want to do as much as you can while you're working at another job, perhaps. If you can get
Yeah.
get going as an artist, then you're lucky. If you don't, at least you will have a decent career. So it's a very, I think you'd really have to treat that question individually for each person.
Okay.
On the other hand, you can't, for example, having a family when you're an opera singer. Now, for me, it was all right because I was attached to the Paris Opera and I only worked there. For people who are independent opera singers and they go all over the world, this is very difficult. And some of them have to choose between being an international opera singer and having children. Now, no one wants to say, well, I can't have children, but you have to understand the difficulty of having your children having to spend long periods of time without your presence.
Yeah.
Who's looking after your kids at that point?
Yeah.
If you have a very strong family structure who can help out, that helps. But these are all questions that an artist really has to think about as they are contemplating their future. So I'm not the kind of person who will say, oh, you have to follow your dream, you just have to follow your dream. On the other hand,
Mhm.
try, go for it, give it a try. I remember it was very funny. My mother gave me a book when I was about 16 or 17. She gave me a book about something about, you know, life, get how to deal with life. I went for it. It took time. I did not become an opera star,
Mm-hmm.
but I got to a very good level. In terms of singing in the chorus, I was at the Paris Opera Chorus. It's among the top maybe 200 or 300 people in the world. So I was at a very high level. It's, to follow your dream, do as much as you can, and hope for the best and be lucky.
If you want to pick one of your best moment, like if you when you are a singer,
Mm-hmm.
when you are running your small business,
Mm-hmm.
now you are doing some shows,
Mm-hmm.
or while when you are writing books.
Mm-hmm.
In these four, which one do you pick?
Well, my life has been in different parts. I
Right.
see my life as there was the opera years and singing. I think being able to replace the star and singing the starring role, that was a very great moment in my life. I have just finishing writing my novel was a very exciting moment because writing a book is not easy. It took me years.
Yeah.
And the day I finished those last words, I was so excited. And I think the day that I sell my book to an editor and the book comes out, I know is going to be absolutely amazing. For this business I'm doing now, the tours, it's very enjoyable. It doesn't have quite the excitement that the other things have, but it's also, I think, the feeling of having the idea, working on it, trying to figure it out, putting it into, okay, this is what I have to do now, then that part, now I have to run the business part. And then when it all comes together and you're actually doing it, that's a very big moment, a very satisfying moment to know that I started with an idea
Yeah.
and I have gone through all of this
Mm-hmm.
and something has come of it.
Throughout your journey, after listening and seeing your journey, which name can you keep for your life? Like, this is my journey, I can give this tagline, the tagline,
A tagline for
the
my
name.
life.
Yeah.
The tagline for my life would be, she had an idea
Mm-hmm.
and she did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And I guess I've always been someone who would take risks.
Nice.
Uh, Other people, I didn't have a lot to lose. I
Yeah.
didn't come from a rich family. I was very lucky in that my parents supported me and were able to pay for my education, but I
Yeah.
didn't have money to, you
Okay.
know,
Try new
yeah,
things.
I
Try.
had to work as a waitress in order to become a singer. It's been hard, but I have, I guess I've done it on my own. I came up with ideas. I've got a lot of imagination, a lot of
Mm.
things in my head. I have lots more stuff I'd love to do if I have time. If God gives me another 50 years. And then I just go for it and keep at it.
According to our research, according to our analysis, we give a word to you from me and my team, Wonder Woman. This is
I
the
think,
word we are trying to give to you, Wonder Woman.
well, that's very kind.
Finally, thank you, ma'am, for doing this first episode with you.
Mm-hmm.
I hope in next coming 3-4 years we will be leading in this journey with the different people, different market
Mm-hmm.
experts. Thank you for accepting our request and coming as a guest.
Well, thank you. It's very enjoyable to talk about my journey, and I hope it's interesting and useful to other people
Yeah.
who listen to it.